All right. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to episode 28. This is the International Women's Day week, and which is why we are covering Women's World Cup this week. Not for any tokenism, but because the Women's World Cup has been one of the most exciting sporting events this whole week. And with all the duds which are happening in the men's test arena, especially the Pakistan versus Australia series, and nobody cares for the India versus Sri Lanka series. We are sticking to the exciting women's cricket this week as well. Welcoming our panelists, welcome starting with Bharat, who looks different with his long hair and a nice mustache. Moving on to Suvam with his headgear and continuing on from last week. Our third panelist, Bidhu Das, is back home. So again, back to familiar backgrounds and lovely lighting. Fourth panelist is Tejas, who is there with his red background and red t-shirt. And the last but not the least, our fifth panelist is Arijit, the showrunner, the man who we seldom see on these panels, but who works tirelessly in the background, who has taken time out from his busy schedule to be on the panel today. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you, Suraj.
All right.
Good evening.
Okay, so let's get started with the first part of the show, right? What I'd like to hear from each one of you is to pick one match which excited you during the Women's World Cup. We could pick anything from starting last Friday when the World Cup started to matches which completed this Saturday or early today.
Okay, maybe I'll go first.
Sure.
The match that really excited me, there were a couple of them, but one of them was not of the highest quality. I think the first one was England versus West Indies. Although the scoreline does say that it was very close, but when watching the match, I saw the English team were really sloppy on the field. They dropped so many catches and simple ones, and they missed a lot of run-out chances. So they practically gave it away in this sense. But the scoreline was good. It is good to have that kind of scoreline, but the match of the tournament till now for me has to be South Africa versus Pakistan. I think two unfancied teams, so giving it their all on the field is what I always look forward to in any of the world tournaments, because it's always about the big guns. But when little known teams who are growing up now, developing now, when they perform like that, it's crazy. And I think I've mentioned enough of times in our discussions, I absolutely love watching Subramanyam Ismail bowl. I think she has the potential to be one of the greatest bowler ever in the history of the game. I think she's the fastest bowler currently, and the nerve that she had in the last over to defend 10 runs and take that amazing catch also. It just goes to show that the game is getting the due credit that it really deserves, and these kind of matches will go a long way in putting women's cricket on the famous map. So yeah, that's the match of the tournament.
Yeah, I would agree, right? With Pakistan ran South Africa so close. I mean, there was a point when I felt that Pakistan might just go into a slide and lose wickets. And then they had this amazing partnership. And I think Nida Dar, if I'm not wrong, is another great all-rounder, right? I mean, with the ball, she took a couple of wickets. With the bat, she almost got them home. And till the last over, it was even Stevens. Pakistan one hit could have won. And yes, what a catch by Subramanyam Ismail. For a fast bowler to run from her run up and hold that catch. It wasn't like she was in a great position to hold it. She was running and the ball was swirling and she managed to catch, which was the turning point. I will come back to the West Indies versus England later once all of you finish. But yeah, that South Africa versus Pakistan was one of the exciting matches.
For me, there were two matches, but I would only talk about one, and that is Australia and England, because that was the most anticipated match of the tournament, because that was the first high-profile match of the tournament. Australia being regarded as the one to lift the cup with all the track record that they have, and England not being in good form, but still the defending champs. And that match was played in Hamilton, and India was supposed to play in Hamilton in the next two games. So I was looking at how the pitch would transpire, and when Australia were batting, it was completely one-sided. I mean, all of the batters who were coming for Australia, they were hitting runs. But thankfully, the match did not didn't go in one direction. England, when they came, they had early wickets, but they stuck to the guns and they kept on with the contest. And if you see towards the end, England had a definitive chance. They had to chase some 40 odd runs in the last 4 overs, and the way Skipper was going, I thought they might just pull one off with a lot of help from Catherine Brunt. But in the last over, the catch where Jonathan just put a full stop to the England chase. But it also shows that in pitches like Hamilton, if one team scores above 300, the other team definitely has a chance to win the game. So that game, I think, was the match for me in this tournament. And look at the scoreboard. England are at the bottom of the table now.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that was a close match, right? Didn't Nat Sever play out of her skin? And she almost got England home. But it does seem like the Australian team seems to be the only formidable team in the tournament till now. But yeah, that was another close match. Moving on, Bharat, Suvam, Arijit, your picks.
Very difficult to choose from. Like you just said, there were many close games. And another one of that was New Zealand against the West Indies. I think Hayley Matthews scored a century in that. West Indies were actually tottering in the first innings, but thanks to Matthews' century, they put up a decent score. And we all know how New Zealand crept up to the tournament, thrashing India quite easily through the one-day series. And I thought it would have been a very easy chase for New Zealand until the 49th over was done. And then Deandra Doughton steps in, bowls her first over in a long while, and picks her first 2 wickets in over 3 years, I heard. That was some nerves. And to hold New Zealand back, and later I think they even stopped England, which is why England is right now at the bottom of the table. That was another exciting game in the first week.
Yeah. I mean, that was the first game of the tournament. It seems to have set the tone for the tournament because nobody expected West Indies to win against a formidable New Zealand side. And magic from Deandra Doughton in that last over. And I mean, it did seem like they gave New Zealand a run for their money in their own backyard. So, and that kind of laid the foundation for West Indies being the dark horse of the tournament. Hayley Matthews, I think, is every single match I see her. My God, she is such a fantastic player. I mean, great fielder. She can bowl, and I think her cover drives and just the power she generates when she smashes the ball. It's almost, when I look at her batting, there's hardly any difference between the Calypso Kings on the men's side and Hayley Matthews and Deandra and a couple of other players on the women's side. It does seem like the women also carry that flavor, the power. She is just one of those players I'll keep a tab on because I love watching her bat. Fabulous batter.
For me, England versus West Indies match was one of the most exciting match. So one of the reasons was because in recent times there have been a lot of talk about how West Indies are improving under the coaching of Courtney Walsh. Having said that, the side that West Indies has is dependent on couple of star players like Hayley Matthews, Deandra Doughton, or even Stephanie Taylor. But in that, if you look at that match, their top order batters have been not that did great. But Samir Campbell was the wicketkeeper who almost scored a century 10 years back, a decade ago. Again came back and scored 60 odd runs, 66 runs, and had a useful partnership who took the score to 226. And again, when bowling, they took out the West England's middle order. And when it seemed like that the match was going in West Indies, where then again the partners Jenny Watt and Sophia Dunkley again turned the match, and again there was another partnership between Kate Cross and Sophie Eccleston, and in the right at the end of the innings, and they were just removed within 9 or 8 runs when they were needed to win the match. So the England against West Indies match was the match that was, there were lots and ups and downs for both the sides. So it was one of the exciting matches for me.
Yeah. I mean, that was another match which again, there was a time when you thought the West Indies wouldn't get to a good score, and then the partnership by Campbell, and then when England were batting, you thought they were running away with it till that amazing catch by Deandra Dottin, where she dismissed Laura Winfield Hill, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
Oh, catch, right?
Definitely.
And then that suddenly turned the tide in West Indies' favor, and then England lost all their top batters. And then in the end, the Kate Cross and Sophie Eccleston partnership, it almost seemed like they would get them across the line till Anisha Mohammed had this moment of brilliance, right? Where it was Sophie Eccleston hit it so hard that had Anisha not put a hand out, it would have been a 4. But somehow Anisha Mohammed put a hand out, it went to hit the stumps, Kate Cross was run out, and Anya Sharbasul got yocked by Anisha Mohammed 2 balls later. But yeah, that match, there was a point when I thought now England's 9th wicket partnership has taken them across the line. But well, West Indies did come back and win it. Another exciting match. Yeah. Arijit, your pick?
My pick would also have been that West Indies versus England. West Indies is known for spicing things up, men's or women's or even the juniors, the under-19 team. They really spice things up. But the World Cup, there was one sweet thing. So that came from the India-Pakistan match, and India was tottering at one level, and so much so I had even dismissed the team that they might be not able to counter the Pakistani attack. But then there was this 8th wicket partnership, if I'm not mistaken, that took things that shaped the innings, and they scored about 244 runs. And that was something brilliant. That shows the kind of fortitude the Indian middle order has. Like if someone fails, they can always back it up. So that was something I really appreciate about the Indian women team. And the other thing I appreciated about the match was when the Indian women's team was bowled by Fatima, the daughter of Bisma Maroof, the captain of the Pakistani team. That was very sweet. And ICC even called it the moment of the World Cup. So I really liked the way the players were approaching the baby. And that was a very sweet moment from the World Cup. So
there is also, sorry, I'm including, there is also another baby in the World Cup. This her name is Grace. She is the daughter of Liata Huhu and Amy Satterthwaite.
Ah, interesting. Well, I mean, it's a good point, Arijit and Suvam, you guys bring, right? I mean, think about it. For us men, or even for men who are cricketers, they just focus on the cricket, and then maybe they have the wives or they have somebody else taking care of the baby, and it's not necessary that the baby travels to the ground, not every day. But think about the women, right? The Bisma Maroof, even in yesterday's match, I did see that once she got out and she went back, there were visuals of her tending to her baby in the dressing room, because at that tender age, baby needs the mother. So we have to salute the commitment of these women for the profession, but also for being that mother, to be able to balance motherhood and then go out and play in such a high pressure environment. This might be a big statement, but I definitely don't think I would have been able to do that as a man, right? So, and I think it's just a special power of women who can manage things like that. So yeah, good points. Now, I know India did win big today. So just wanted to get your thoughts in terms of what did you guys think of the match? Do we have the combination right? Or is there still scope for changes?
I'm going first. So I was saving my two best matches. Like I said, one was England, Australia, and this one was my second favorite. The reason is, as you said, in the match previous, India versus New Zealand, we had few tactical changes. We had dropped Saif Ali Verma, And I won't debate whether the decision was right or not, but I kind of understand why they did that. I think Shefali had seen New Zealand a lot of time in the last 1-2 months, and she has not done well. And that's the reason why they dropped. The other reason is they had a lot of confidence in our all-rounders, Pooja Vastrakar, who has already performed in this tournament, and someone like a Sneh Rana, who can come in and score runs. And that's why they went in with one batsman short. But I was interested to see whether they would continue to do that in this match or not. And they stuck to their guns. And this is not to say that Shefali Verma cannot come in this tournament, but I like the fact that Yastika Bhatia is being sent up, and she also scored at above 100 strike rate today. And the other reason is Smriti Mandhana is among runs, but she is not at her fluent best. So you don't need two openers who are finding forms in big tournament like this. So if Yastika Bhatia and Smriti Mandhana are opening the game and Smriti takes some time, Yastika can score slightly higher pace and India can set the pace. The rest is obviously the champion player, Harmanpreet Kaur. I think it's been 4 years that she got 100 in the 50-over format, and it's coming at the right time. Maybe an early stage in the tournament, but India has 2 big games against England and Australia, and the rich vein of form which Harmanpreet Kaur has been in the last few games, it's going to give danger signals to the teams coming in. And especially the fielding part, I think a lot of wonderful catches today. One was by Tanya Bhatia. And one fielding, the alertness of Deepti Sharma, I think, who caught the ball mid-pitch and threw and took the run out. I think the match was over by then, but still the alertness was something which really amazed me when the match was going on. I'm really happy with the way India performed today.
Yeah, good call out, right? I mean, because the fielding was horrendous against the New Zealand team. It's a different story that the New Zealand team also dropped catches, but the Indian women's catching in the previous match was quite bad. So for them to have held on to some of the catches today, and yes, thanks for calling out that moment. I thought that was the moment of the day when Deepti Sharma, my God, nobody would have expected. I don't think the non-striker also expected. Just she was behind the wicket keeper in some leg slip or a first slip kind of position, right? The throw was coming in from what, third man? And she just caught through and bang on. So yeah,
Bowler was back to her bowling mark.
Yeah.
Bowler was walking back to her bowling mark. She was almost there, and the batter who was going towards a non-striker, and she had no idea this was going to happen.
Yeah.
Someone aimed at her, and she made a almighty dive, but that didn't save her.
Yeah. There was another run out as well today, which was also good because the fielder, I can't remember who was the fielder. I know Sneha Rana was the bowler. So the fielder picked up, and both the batsmen, Gaikwad, is it? Both the batsmen were almost crossing each other. So she, in that split second, she had to make a decision whether to throw it to the wicketkeeper. She ended up throwing it to the bowler, which was the right end to throw it to, and and they affected another run out.
Now we guess.
But she had to throw it to the bowler. So I think she made a circle and then throw it to the bowler, which helped.
Yeah.
Now that you guys have mentioned Rajshri Gaikwad, right? She's the plus point for me. Since match 1, I think she's bowling brilliantly. Unfortunately, I had not watched her bowl too much before the series, or before the tournament itself. I think she bowls brilliantly. I think the flight that she gives on the ball, it is almost like some sort of a gift. It's not so easy to flight that ball and still have that control to only go for 23 runs of 10 overs, right? It's skillful bowling, the guile, the spin that she had, it's just incredible. And I feel that as the tournament goes on, she'll play a major role. So Rajshri Gaikwad is, I know Smriti Mandhana came, Smriti Mandhana according to me is perhaps the best batter in the world. Harman is amongst the run as well, but I think the way Rajshri Gaikwad bowled today is the biggest plus for me.
Yeah, I mean, and hasn't she overtaken Poonam Yadav in the 11? I mean, there was a point when Poonam Yadav used to be a regular feature in the 11, right?
Yeah.
I think different batters started to play her better. It was earlier difficult for, say, English women or the Australian to play her very slow, loopy, flighted deliveries, but I think they got around it.
Got it. But I mean, if one of my dreams is to actually see, after seeing Yastika Bhatia bat today, she is a fierce puller, and she had some brilliant shots to all the short pitch deliveries which the West Indies bowled. I don't think they bowled anything to her throat, but anything midriff or slightly towards the chin, she was able to pull. What are the chances of seeing Shefali Verma and Yastika Bhatia open?
I think Harmanpreet Kaur is just at 5 because of team demands, and you don't want Smriti Mandhana to come down again.
Yeah. No, I think, again, I need to reiterate, I think Smriti Mandhana is perhaps the best batter in the world. I mean, forget about it, even the Indian team. I think she's technically superior to many of the batters that I've seen. I think there's no point. I think she'll have a wonderful career. As I predicted, hopefully my prediction comes right for a change. I hope she gets around 450 to 500 runs this tournament and takes India deep. I absolutely love watching her bat. There's a little bit of bias because I'm a left-hander too, and I love to watch left-handers bat. And she has that left-hander's elegance to the fullest. So yeah, I really hope she has a good tournament.
Yeah, because I was looking at the playing 11, right, and I was like, if India, one of those matches where they want to really experiment and they want to go with 2 aggressive opening options, how do they fit in a Shefali Verma? I mean, Yastika Bhatia, Smriti Mandhana, top 1 and 2. 1 down is Mithali Raj. You can't drop the captain, and 2 down is Deepti Sharma, who's all rounder. 3 down is Harmanpreet Kaur. 4 down is Richa Ghosh, who's your wicket keeper. 5 down is then Pooja Vastrakar. Then comes Sneha Rana. Then you have Julian Goswami, Meghna Singh, and then Rajeshwari Gaikwad, right? So who do you drop?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good headache to have, right? Option of, I mean, and a problem of plenty. So it can only get better.
Who is our backup keeper? If they were, for whatever reason, right? If they were to drop Richa Ghosh, do we have a backup keeper?
Yastika Bhatia.
Tanya Bhatia.
No,
so they have to bring in somebody.
Yastika Bhatia can keep.
Okay.
Speaking on that point about the keeper, so Richa Ghosh has not been as impressive with the bat as she had been in the Big Bash League. I was a little disappointed that she has not performed well with the bat. But as a keeper, I am not aware how she did. But given the kind of transformation she had in the last 2 years as a batsman keeper, I think I would love to see her play really well in the coming few matches. And then let's see how that figures out. It would be sad if she gets dropped out. And the other thing I wanted to point out, except for the third match of India today, most of the first 2 matches, India batted really slow in the power play. And that is a point of concern. Today, they batted really well. They had scored about 62 runs in 10 overs. And the other matches, like they were tottering at, say, 2 runs per over. So that was a concern I had as a fan of the game.
Yeah. I mean, I think the New Zealand match, I thought after the Indian team would have gone with high spirits at the midway mark, because there was a point when New Zealand looked like they were going to score 290, 300, and then for India to have restricted them to around 260 was a great performance. Again, brilliant bowling by Pooja Vastrakar for those 2 balls where she got 2 batswomen out. But yeah, I thought Leah Tahuhu bowled really well to keep the Indian batters in check. And then they had a tactical mistake, didn't they? They sent 3 left-handers back-to-back, Smriti, Yastika, and then Deepti Sharma.
Yeah, and that is where I feel someone like Jemima Rodriguez could have made a difference. She's been in a rich vein of form. I know, I mean, we have to trust the team that we have, but the reason why the openers play a little slowly at the beginning, because they might not have the confidence with the middle order, because we have all swashbuckling batsmen like, Deepti Sharma is more of an swashbuckling player, whom she will take her chances for sure. But with Jemima, I think they could have a little bit of a cushion at number 3 and number 4. But again, I mean, we should trust the team and back them. But I think the presence of Jemima would have helped all that.
To me, if we look at today's win, 2 or 3, I mean, we know that Smriti Mandhana and Harmanpreet Kaur have done really well. But if we look at the side, I think Sneha is maybe the unknown hero or unsung hero, because since she has make and come back in England series, she had been put something in our plate, right? In the England series, England in the test against England, she made a match-saving 80s. Then again, Australia, she scored the winning runs, and then again also you can versus the India versus England T20 series as well. She also put some run and take wickets. In the first match against Pakistan, she scored runs, and today she took out Jayendra Dottin when she was scoring in a high speed. So to me, Sneha Rana is one of the factors that India had put in the in the final 11. And as there is Sneha Rana, so India have gone left out Poonam Yadav, who can be an option if India is going for another specialist spinner. Apart from that, Mithali Raj is not hasn't scored in last 3 matches, so there can be an area of concern regarding her touch, because she was in good form even she is batted with a good strike rate in the New Zealand series. And regarding Richa Ghosh, if we can only consider wicket keeping is in our considerations, the Tanya Bhatia I think is the better keeper than Richa Ghosh, but as we have seen in the New Zealand series, she has scored 2 half centuries in 3 matches and become the fastest Indian to score a half century. So I think Richa Ghosh's batting is the key when it comes to the inclusion of her in the side. So she didn't score well. I think she got out thrice in a single digit score. So there will be a concern regarding her form as well. And Indian bowling has been, I think, much better than the bilateral series in this entire World Cup, because Indian batting has been good, but bowling was not living up to the expectations. So in all the 3 matches, India have, I think, done pretty well, and spinners have done their work in the World Cup. And especially Meghna Singh also came up with 2 or 3 wickets. So Indian bowling is doing beyond our expectations. I think batting needs to be more consistent when looking into the other big matches like Australia or England.
That's a good segue, Suvam. I'm going to share my screen because I want you guys to. So I'm just putting out the schedule, okay, on the screen, and I'd like to hear from each one of you which are the matches you're looking for. These are the results. These are the fixtures for next week. So tomorrow is New Zealand versus Australia. Predictions?
Looking at Australia's current form, it has to be Australia will be on the upper hand. It will take upper hand because one of them prominent all-rounder, Ash Gardner, is making a comeback into the side in the playing 11. I hope she will make a comeback. And Rachel Haynes, Meg Lanning, you name it, and there are players. I haven't seen Ellis Perry like a Perry skip form in last couple of series. So I hope Ellis Perry makes some great impact in the match. And from the New Zealand point of view, Amelia Carr and the top 4 batters, Susie Bates, Sophie Devine, Amelia Carr, and Heather Sweat will be once again the key factor for putting up good runs.
Yeah, I mean, Amelia Carr, I didn't realize she was an all-rounder, but then in the India match, she did seem to have an impact. She can bat, she can bowl, she took wickets, and is also a great outfielder. So another player I'm going to look forward to. Okay, Bangladesh versus Pakistan. Gentlemen, what are your, who do you think? This is probably, again, a battle of equals. Right? Who do you think has the upper hand?
Bangladesh.
Yeah, so Bharat is an expert about Bangladesh cricket, so he should take the honors.
Sure.
It still says it's Pakistan who will have the upper hand in the game. But we have Bangladesh twice, so let's see.
Okay. Okay. Sorry, Tejas, you were saying something as well.
I think Bangladesh batted pretty decently against New Zealand in that rain-contained match. I think it was down to 27 overs, and they were going pretty good. Ended up with 140, but I saw a little bit of spark by the Bangladesh team. So Pakistan have come out on the wrong side of an exciting match. As you said, it's the battle of the equals, but I'd probably give a little bit of an edge to Bangladesh women because I saw some sort of a spark from them. against the home side. Like New Zealand is not a bad side. They're pretty good and they're one of the favorites. So they did show a little bit of spark. So I'll go with Bangladesh.
Got it. So it's a double header on Monday, right? There's England women versus South Africa. Upset on the cards. Anybody thinks South Africa pulling off a win against England?
It can be. I don't think South Africa beating England would be an upset. It is a contesting game because South Africa are the dark horses in this tournament and England are on the slide down. But if England, as you mentioned, if there is an upset and a downslide England is going to meet an upside India, it would be very interesting because then England would have lost 4 and they need to win the next 3 maybe to have any chance of qualifying. So I think this is a must-win game for England. They have 2 losses, and if they lose 1 more, it will be difficult for them.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah. Okay. And that's a good point that if England loses, then it's good for India because they're going to meet India next. Okay, before we get to that game, Australia versus West Indies. Again, I mean, I would love to see West Indies beating Australia. Or is Australia the Pakistan of ICC T20 tournament, right? Unbeatable through the group stages and maybe they slip up in the semis. I don't know, but what do you guys think?
No, before that itself, I'm predicting a New Zealand win actually. I'm looking for a Susie Bates and Amelia Kerr special because South Africa Australia have not been tested throughout the tournament till now. So I think New Zealand they have more than a fair chance to beat Australia. So I mean, do you call it an upset? I wouldn't, but yeah, I'm looking for a New Zealand win there.
Got it. But Tuesday, anybody betting their money on? Suvam and Tejas are betting their money on New Zealand for tomorrow. But anybody betting their money on West Indies for Tuesday?
I will. I always cheer for the underdogs, and in this case, I would love to support West Indies. I hope they pull one off, and
I think the trick is for West Indies to bat first. I think both the games they won, they are better at restricting teams rather than chasing scores. Because the 2 games they won, they were restricting the other side where they seemed stronger. Whereas today they were chasing and they seemed to. We have to have a word for Deandra Doughton. She was battling a back injury. In spite of that, she came out and she played an innings which gave them impetus to actually chase the 317, and things went downhill after that. But I definitely think if West Indies bat first, they might have a chance against Australia. Sorry, somebody was saying something.
Against the England versus South Africa match, I would love to see how England top order batters face the South African 4 seamers who have been in tremendous form. And I hope to see some runs from Heather Knight and Amy Jones. Amy Jones have been brilliant behind the wickets, but she has not been in good touch. So I think I would love to see if both the batters put up some runs against South Africa.
Got it. But yeah, and then England versus India. What do you think, Suvam?
I think looking at this England, I think these are the matches we cannot predict, but sometimes the match will. I would love to say India win, but England. Looking at the last series where England has beaten India comprehensively, but depending on the match, depending on the morals of the matches, India can start being the favorite. But again, how England perform on South Africa matches will be a huge for this match for the next Indian match.
Also, just going back to the point which Bidhu called out earlier, right? Like Hamilton seems to be a ground where people set big scores and then the chasing teams can chase big scores. What is assessment of Mount Maunganui? I mean, I haven't necessarily looked at it from that perspective, but what's been the history there? Any of you know?
If we look at the India versus Pakistan match, I think the pitch have slowed down as the match has progressed. So spinners can be handy. So again, though surprisingly, India have defended the total in both the matches India have won. So India can go again and put up a good score batting first, and then use their spinners to bottle up the England batter.
Yeah, I think
Mount-
again the trick for India is to win the toss.
Yeah.
Also, what matters is I think India is one of those teams who depends upon the spinners more. I think every other team has spinner, but they depend upon one spinner. But India has 3 quality spinners. So I think Indian team doesn't depend upon pitch that much, but they depend upon the dew factor and the toss factor more. Because if they bowl second and then there is dew and the spinners are nullified, the threat of spinners are nullified, and then the problems would arise. Doesn't matter how much we score, even if we put up a 275, 280 score and there's dew and all the threats of the spinners are nullified, even if a South Africa or a West Indies team can score runs against them. You saw today, right? When the West Indies opening batsman scored 100 runs in 12 overs, the spinners are the ones who caused the break in their momentum because there was no dew there, and they could grip the ball. They could just throw in the slow balls, and they had control over what they were bowling. So I think how the dew would be, it's a day-night match. I can see that. So
correct. Yeah,
that's
a good call out.
Lot would ride on the toss.
Yeah,
good call out.
They have improved over the course of the tournament. In the first game, their bowling line was towards the leg stump, and in the game against New Zealand, they were wayward outside the off stump. It's good that they are finally back on track and bowling at the stumps.
Correct. Sorry, just to ensure that we get everybody on the screen, I'm going to call out the next matches because when I share the screen, then we can just see one speaker. Okay, the next one on Thursday after the India-England is New Zealand and South Africa. Anybody predicting an upset? I don't know what is an upset, right? Is South Africa winning an upset?
I go with New Zealand. I think New Zealand would defeat South Africa.
Yeah,
but this is in Hamilton, no? It's a day-nighter.
Yeah, I think South Africa lack a little bit of firepower in their batting. They're pretty good with their bowling. I think the bowling attack is really well rounded, but the batting seems a little dodgy at the moment. And I mean, at home, New Zealand now they're getting into the groove. Honestly speaking, they really should have won the first game as well. It was theirs to win. After that, they have picked themselves up, and they're the eternal dark horses in every single tournament that they play. So I'd see a victory for New Zealand over South Africa.
I think Lizzie would in their batting lineup. You should have quarantine by now.
Sorry, can you please repeat that, Bharat?
Lizzie, she was out because she was away for the birth of their first baby, and she must have just completed the quarantine and must be ready to the squad. I think that will help their batting.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. The next match after that on Friday is Bangladesh versus West Indies. West Indies should win this easily.
I won't be putting the word easy because everyone goes to beat one another, so it could be anyone's day. So let's see. Let's hope to see an upset match. So I would like to go cheer for the Bangladesh team.
Okay, let's see if there is an upset on the cards. And then the last match, which we're going to track before we do a show next week, would be Australia versus India, another big match next Saturday. And this is happening in Auckland. Any idea about it's a day-nighter, but any idea about the pitch or have there been matches before in Auckland?
I'm not sure whether the men's team and the women's teams play in the same kind of pitch. I know that women's play on a smaller grounds. The boundaries are dragged a little bit back. But in terms of pitch, I think Auckland does provide a lot of swing initially, which is again a problem for India because India doesn't rely on seam that much. So it would obviously favor Australians. So how the top order battles out the swing of Australian bowlers is the key for India piling up runs on that particular match. And they have to pile runs up because Australia, it seems everyone is batting and scoring 50s, 100s whenever they come to bat.
Yeah, I mean, that's another interesting trend which I see with all the women's team. It does seem like every team, irrespective of India, Australia, England, even Pakistan, West Indies, they seem to have a lot of all-rounders, which is uncommon to the men's team, right? Men's team have your batters, maybe one or two all-rounders, and then your bowlers. But the women's team seems to have a lot more all-rounders who can then contribute in multiple ways. And just another point, I just quickly checked. It doesn't seem like there's been any match in Auckland till today in the Women's World Cup. There might be some. Let me look at the. Okay. Tomorrow is Wellington. Monday is Hamilton. Mount Maunganui, Wellington. I think India would. Yeah, it'll be the first match for India and for Australia and for anybody in Auckland in this series. So it's a new experience for both of the teams.
If, as Bidhu has said, if the ball swings smart, I think, yes, Australia will be in our upper hand, but we cannot count India out, because if we look at the India versus Australia series, I think Indian bowlers have done, at least Indian seamers have done well than Australian seamers. We can remember how Meghlani got out twice in in-swingers, and then Elisa Healy got out at an out-swingers. So in both in Jhulan Goswami, Meghna Singh, Renuka Singh, Thakur, all of them, if they're not very fast bowlers, but they have good swings under their control. So yep, Australia will be on top because of their fast bowling attack, but we cannot rule India out regarding their pace bowling attack. They lack experience or match experience and or even the control, but we can trust them, as we have seen today how Meghna Singh has done things.
Sure. We'll all look forward to the match. We're almost at the end of the show today. Any last comments from any of you?
I wanted to have a little bit thoughts on Pakistan team, because yes, there has been a lot of, I mean, as rightly pointed out by Arijit, that off the field, but I feel they have been a little bit unlucky on the field, because performance-wise, if you see, they have to punch above their weight to defeat some of the more established teams, and they have been doing that, and they have been falling short. Against India, of course, as an Indian, I did support our Indian team, but they had put us under a lot of pressure when they were bowling. And against South Africa, they were inches from winning the game. And if you see the next match, it is against Bangladesh. I wish them they win, because when you are a team who are constantly, they are cohesive unit and they're punching above their weight. If you lose matches from teams who are at par, then the confidence really goes down. So I wish them to win against Bangladesh, and along the tournament to win at least 1-2 more games, because they do have their potential to win games, at least 3 in this tournament.
Yeah, it does seem like their bowling is amazing, right? I mean, their spinners restricted India, their spinners restricted South Africa as well. So their spin department is quite good, and their catching was equally exceptional in the South Africa game. Some blinders picked up by the wicketkeeper, and I think there was another great catch in the inner circle or the outfield. But I was very impressed with their catching when I looked at the highlights.
Yes, Suraj, I also was voicing out the same opinion, that their bowling has been quite impressive, both against India and South Africa. Especially the spinners, while the spinners were operating, I believe it was Kaur and one more player, and they almost gave some very few runs in the overs allotted to them. Once their quota got over, the Indian the batters took advantage of the absence of these spinners, and then they then they speeded up the score. But it is quite. I'm looking forward to a great performance by the Pakistani bowlers.
Sure, yeah, we're showering a lot of love from this side of the border. All right, then. Thank you again, gentlemen. Thank you for your thoughts. It's been an exciting week. We hope and we look forward to another exciting week of Women's World Cup, which we will be bringing to you next week. We will be doing another show. In the meanwhile, please do like, share, subscribe, and consider sharing and liking what our videos if you like the content which we have. And we're trying to ensure that we cover various facets of the game and not just be restricted to one facet of the game. With that, anybody wanted to say anything before we close out?
A minute of silence for the West Indies England series, which we never mentioned throughout the show.
Oh yes, I mean it does seem like finally Zach Crawley is hit a century and he's repaid fit. But we will definitely review those series. The women's game has been so exciting that it's not like we are not following the men's test series. It's just that the women's game has taken precedence over everything else which is happening in men's cricket. But yeah, thanks for that mention, Bharat. All right, thank you everybody. Sorry, go ahead.
Just before we end, a new law is out regarding crossing over when a batter is caught out. So
Yes,
there are no more changeovers. I think that will be applicable from the next series or tournament.
yes, and Mankanding is not against the spirit of the law anymore. I think they should stop calling it Mankanding and they should just call it, turn out.
Who did change the rules? Is it the ICC or the Arab management after they brought in both and Butler? They had a coffee. They just scrapped the rule.
No, actually, Bidhu, there is a connection there. You see,
Is it?
no. I mean, maybe it's just a conjecture. So, Sangakkara was part of the ICC cricketing committee just a few years ago, if I'm not wrong, and he's the head of cricket at Rajasthan. So you might be onto something there.
Yeah, but good. What do we call this? Prophecies or stories which we believe could be true, but nobody's ever going to admit to it.
Yes, yes.
Officially. All right, gentlemen. Thank you again for your time. Thank you again for your participation. See you next week. Till then, have a good rest of your day, rest of your week, and for everybody who's watching, thank you for watching, and do come back to watch us again next week. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Suraj. Bye.